I want to know everything, got to get your interviews. Yeah, where them a tell you education news. Sit down and listen, have nothing to lose. Plus, you know them must bring something for you. Word of the day, that is something for your use. Bread of life, that I know my food. Plus, man, I bust a tune, bust a campus tune. Now make it go and bounce in my room. Cause of that I go on from campus. We are carried a lot from campus. Come on, tell me what one. Campus connection, yeah, that's a one. Campus connection, and that's a one from campus. Young people are hard from campus. Oh, Lord, that's a one. Campus connection. Oh, nah. Let me tell you, say, I love it there. I love it there. Love it there. Yeah. Oh, Lord.
A what a guan pan campus and a dat a guan pan campus. Yes, indeed, another week, another episode. So I say welcome to Campus Connection right here on Love 101. It's where we talk things school and education and so much more. If you're connected, you can hit us right on our WhatsApp line. And we are live on Facebook and YouTube also. So listen, last week we missed Floyd, but this week he's back. Yes, indeed, back in full swing. And I'm Stevenson Samuels, but
Yay, Rev. I'm Floyd Wilson, and it's great to be back. Sorry that I was out last week, but it's another week of Campus Connection where we get to hear from our students as well as our students get to hear what's happening and what's new in our campuses. So we know that there's so much been happening in our news, but we want to stay current as well to tackle the many issues that our students are challenged with and are faced with. So coming up in our program, we'll be having our regular features, the word of the day, and we'll be having our campus tune and also on my mind. And let's talk about it segment. You definitely want to tune in for that. We are still in Mental Health Awareness Month, and earlier this month, we looked at mental health, the new pandemic, and this week we're going to do another mental health checkup. But this time we're going to speak to the persons that students are speaking to. That's their guidance counselors. So today we're going to be talking about behavioral patterns in our students. Are our children okay? Are they really, really okay? Being mentally unhealthy is really impacting their academic performance. And so what are some of the external factors affecting our children? What are some of the issues our guidance counselors hear from a day-to-day, basis coming out of these homes and out of our children? And how do they administer help to our children? So it's going to be great. Let's talk about the segment.
absolutely, my friend and my brother. And so, to help us a bit more to understand what's happening inside the mind of our children, whose mind they get to tap into, our guest this evening will be President of the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education and also guidance counselor at the Mayday High School in Mandeville. And that's none other than Mr. Winston Nathan. And if I was making some kind of curtain call or the other, I would just stretch my hand out and he would just be coming from backstage. Then we go to the trained guidance counselor with experience at the secondary and primary levels, as well as special education institutions. None other than Mr. Eraldo Budhan.
Hey.
And then to top it off, putting the icing on the cake, guidance counselor at the Eltham High School. That's Mrs. Carnelie, or rather Carnelia Bennett. And
Yeah,
we're having some conversations with three of these great guidance counselors.
it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's always talking to our guidance counselors because they have, a little connection with what's happening with our students. So definitely it's going to be an interesting conversation as we get to hear from those who talk to our children. That's our guidance counselor. That's their guidance counselor. So we invite you to connect with us via our WhatsApp line. You can send us a voicemail. You can send us a message. You want to talk to our guidance counselor about mental health checkup, about what issues they are hearing from our children, or you want to make a comment or ask a question, go right ahead on our WhatsApp line at 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. You can also send congratulations to any students you know who have passed their exams. We're in that season. So we're live on Facebook and on YouTube. So be sure to connect with us.
Hey, also, we have the feature, remember? I chose Christ, you should too. And that's coming up later at 6:25. This is the family station. You know it. Love 101. And we take a break and we will return after these messages.
Get ready for another World of Worship Wednesdays at Alive, 1 to 5, October 27th. Stick around for Power Blast at 2 o'clock. 2:15, we feature Lauren Daigle as our worship artist of the day. Then at 3 p.m., we bring you the Alive Bible Challenge, ABC Match number 4, which will feature Annie Thompson of Discovery Bay Tabernacle, who is going up against challenger Owen Francis of the Calvary Evangelistic Church of God. All this and more will come your way inside Alive, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the family station. Love 101.
Everybody wave, get something away.
I am Elaine Thompson here, and I work hard to deliver winning performance just like Flow. Working hard to deliver fiber fast performance in your home and savings on your phone.
Elevate your home internet with Flow Fiberfast technology, and you can unlock 50% savings off your mobile plan every month. Simply join your mobile with your home internet. No deposit, no contract, and a predictable mobile bill. Get winning performance that saves. Visit discoverflow.co or your nearest Flow store to sign up today. Conditions apply.
Nobody knows when things will return to normal. Whenever that happens, we will be facing a world looking to recover and rebuild. Part of what that will mean is businesses facing increased costs for goods that are then passed on to customers without equally adjusted incomes. Investing in securities like local and international stocks, as well as alternative assets in real estate and private equity, can revolutionize your finances.
Visit barita.com/opportunities for more growth coach insights.
Life comes at you fast and it can hit hard. Apply for the Credit Union Prepaid MasterCard from C&WJ with chip and PIN protection. Need a card with a personal line of credit for emergencies? We have that. Need a card you can use to shop online for that must-have item? We have that. The community and workers of Jamaica Prepaid MasterCard. All the convenience of a MasterCard. Discover the benefits of belonging.
Connection, tell me what I want. Campus connection, I don't go on bank campus. Young people are got hard bank campus. Come on, tell me what I want. Campus connection, tell me what I want. Hey, I want to know everything. Got to get you interview.
Welcome back. This is Campus Connection right here on Love 101 FM, and I am Floyd Wilson, and this is Campus Connection. And with me is my co-host, Reverend Stephen Samuels himself, the energy pastor. But it's now time for our word for today. And the word for today is
Yes, that's facile.
facile. All right. And that's spelled
That's right.
F-A-C-I-L-E. Facile.
American
That's right.
facile. French facile.
Facile. Okay. So I will just use the American facile. So that is to easily accomplish or attain. So use that in a sentence. The facts of the unsolved mystery were intriguing, but the author's conclusion was facile. All right. So that is our word for today, Pastor Sam. I know you're definitely going to use that in a sentence this week. All right. So it's now time for our
Absolutely.
It's now time for our campus tune. So we're going to be having a tune, and this one is going to be a special one as usual. We've been having some live campus tunes, and today we have Kavan Angus, and he serves as a deacon at the Church of God in Christ, United in Kingston. And so Kavan is going to be singing for us. Welcome, my brother Kavan. I think we're going to be connecting with him. Do we have him as yet? Kavan? So definitely looking forward to that, Rev. I think we are going to be connecting with Kavan there, but I think we can, in the meanwhile, go into what's on my mind.
Of course. And I'm sure that Floyd, being such a deep and current and contemporary man, has about 15 things on his mind right now. And Floyd, tell me, this is what's on my mind, or maybe we should say, this is a segment on my mind.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what is on your mind right now.
Well, right now, there are a couple of hot button issues out there. There's just so much happening, with our children. Just them being out of school and being home. There are more voices that are rising up now that are saying that our students should actually be back in school. And so, persons are saying, once a child is vaccinated, they should be in school. Children are already have been facing, so much setback from not being in school. I don't think we have fully grasped. We need to do research upon research upon how this pandemic has affected our educational system. But beyond doing the research, we need to do something about it. And we know, just by seeing what's happening with our student grades, feedback from teachers, the performance isn't where it used to be before the pandemic. And so our students are suffering. Our students are being left marginalized. And so my thing, I'm on board too. I think that with the numbers going down, with the numbers of vaccinations going up, with most of our teachers being vaccinated, I think there hasn't really been any kind of research or numbers that came out to say that our schools are super spreaders. That there was any kind of major spread that took place in our schools. It doesn't really affect our students that much in terms of hospitalization, but so I am for it. I don't know. That's my thoughts. I am for the Minister of Education looking at a way that we can get our students back in school, because I think they're going to be the better for it.
Ah, wonderful. Thank you for those deep thoughts, my brother. And really hope that our students will be able to get back into school quickly. I want students to get back into school quickly also. And I'm thinking about that aspect of a child's formation that we call character, you know, uh, the building of values, the passing on of great morals, uh, core values lifted up before students, and those values being played out as they engage one another in interaction in schools. I'm very concerned about that, you know. So at one level, especially at the primary and the secondary level, how are we going to pass on great values, great behavioral practices in our students if they are not face to face? It's more difficult to pass it on online. And so you need for the student to be there, for the teacher to actually see the student, in practicing and living out some of these values and these character traits. I am concerned that we are going to, a whole generation is going to lose the culture of what it is to be real Jamaican because they're cooped up with parents alone. And we know that families alone, especially as broken as they are in Jamaica, cannot pass on those values effectively enough. They need to get into a school. And with churches shutting down also, no Sunday school happening
Mm-hmm.
more than so again, apart from online, no Sabbath school. And so we have to get our children back out into that live space
Yeah.
where we can see their behavior and the correct, misaligned traits that they are developing. And then the other thing, Floyd, is that when tertiary students are out, students like you who needed to see your wife on a campus, that's not going to happen with these guys. So at the tertiary level, I'm a little concerned because, how are students going to meet their
Connecting.
spouses? And a lot of students, it is on a campus that they meet their
Yeah.
partners. So, I'm a little concerned. How do students make great intimate friends if
Yeah.
they're not face to face, kind of, engaging students it's a different thing. I guess it can happen a different way, but
Yes.
I'm a little concerned, eh?
Yeah, we weren't meant to be, isolated. We are social beings. And, so beyond, meeting that special person on campus, which a lot of persons have, just in terms of people have lifelong friendships that they form on campus, persons, have deeper relationships, that's the whole support that's there. And I think even, let's talk about it segment. I think our guidance counselors can help us a little bit more to get a little bit of insight into that psychosocial important for our students, and very very much concerned about how our students are dealing with that, just not having that kind of interaction. So those are some of the things on my mind too.
Yep. I hear that Kavan is on.
Yeah,
Am I correct?
yeah. Kavan, Angus. Hey, Kavan.
Blessing.
Hey, welcome, my brother. Welcome, my brother. It's great having you to share with us in our campus tune today on Campus Connection. So go right ahead and take it away and bless our listeners.
You are worthy, and no one can worship you for me. Mm. For all the things you've done for me, oh, and no one can worship you for me. Use my worship, all of my worship, oh, receive my worship, all of my worship, and I will not be silent. I will always worship you as long as I am breathing. I will always worship you. Oh, here's my worship. Oh, all of my worship. Oh, receive my worship, all of my worship. Here's my worship, oh, all of my worship, oh, receive my worship, all of my worship. Yeah. That's the Lord.
Praise the Lord. There you have it, our Deacon Kavan Angus right here in Campus Connection live and direct. And Kavan, thank you so much for blessing us this afternoon with that beautiful song, my brother.
Indeed, Kavan singing up a storm right there. And remember to come is our Let's Talk About It segment. This is where we get to talk to the person your child is talking to. That's their guidance counselor.
Yes, and also remember that we have our feature, I Chose Christ, You Should Too. That's coming up later in the show. But right now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
I've got love in my heart and I'm feeling blessed.
Get ready for another World of Worship Wednesday Data Live, 1 to 5 October 27. Stick around for Power Blast at 2 o'clock. 2:15, we feature Lauren Daigle as our worship artist of the day. Then at 3 p.m., we bring you the Alive Bible Challenge, ABC Match number 4, which will feature Annette Thompson of Discovery Bay Tabernacle, who is going up against challenger Owen Francis of the Calvary Evangelistic Church of God. All this and more will come your way inside Alive, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Everybody wave, get something away.
Whoa, oh. Hello there. This and every Thursday at 6:50 p.m., listen out as Sultan Townsend shares and connects persons with needs to those who want to help. And if you can help, then please be sure to call the team at Hello Neighbor at 876-334-8165 or email helloneighbor@yahoo.com. That's Hello Neighbor. This and every Thursday at 6:50 p.m. Hello Neighbor, giving what we can to help those we can. It's the Hello Neighbor way, the Bible way. It's all live on the family station, Love 101, the number one gospel station in the nation.
Help somebody, you can.
Where the student them see we are. Where the student see we are. I want to go on campus. We are carry the Lord on campus. Come on, tell me what. Campus connection, tell me what.
Indeed, tell me what a go on. It is Campus Connection. And this now is our Let's Talk About It segment. This is where we get to talk to the person your child talks to. And this now is your guidance counselor. So welcome back. Campus Connection. Stevenson Samuels is my name. And co-host is indeed Floyd Wilson. And he is on the other side of the show. So, it's time to get into our Let's Talk About It segment. So since the beginning of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused a dramatic rise in mental health issues. Students in particular are struggling to cope with new ways of learning and feeling connected to others. Stress, anxiety, and depression are very high amongst them, and the social isolation that many students feel has exacerbated these issues. But do students feel safe talking about these issues? Who can they really talk to?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, in a study conducted by the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, Jamaica in 2020, in collaboration with the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, that's CAPRI, on the impact of COVID-19, it shows that most households reported increase in children's level of boredom, and that increased to 63%. And there was also an increase in overeating by 47%. Other emotions that were elevated related to pre-COVID included frustration, up to 41%, clinginess, an increase of 49%, anxiety, 23%, and fear, up 21%. Yeah.
Wow. That's serious talking there, my brother.
Yeah, those are some elevated levels.
Of course. And the UNICEF study actually found that children over 6 years old are reportedly spending, on average, more than twice the time in front of a screen since COVID-19 restrictions began, moving from 3.1 hours to 6.8 hours per day. Not sure that is healthy. Yeah. In addition, 13% of households reported that their children's online activity, including the content they view, was seldom or never supervised by an adult.
Yeah, that's serious. So are our children okay? Like, are they really okay? Who can they talk to? Who are they talking to? Can they trust anyone with their issues? And if they trust anyone, who are they, that they are trusting? So we really want to ask those questions and get some answers to those this Evelyn.
Of course. And guess what, Floyd? I really believe that we know who they are, and they are here with us this evening to share what behavior they are seeing in our children in the virtual classroom. So, our guests this evening are President of the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education and also Guidance Counselor at the Mayday High School in Mandeville, and that's Mr. Winston Nathan, and also trained guidance counselor with experience at the secondary and primary levels, as well as special education institution, and that is Mr. Eraldo Budhan. And last but not least, certainly, guidance counselor at the Eltham High School, and that's Mrs. Carnelia Bennett. Mrs. Carnelia Bennett, good to have you with us.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
And good to have you, Mr. Budhan. Very, very good to have all of you on with us. Mr. Nathan, how are you doing?
I think you're muted, Mr. Nathan.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear now.
Okay, good afternoon. I am doing great and I am on top of the world. The problem might be bigger than me, but you know what? My God is bigger than the problem.
You preach now.
Come on, come on.
Right? So if you want me to continue on such a line, despite the challenges, I know the one who can overcome.
Absolutely, absolutely. And don't we all know? Thank you very much for that opening statement.
Yes, yes.
On behalf of your God. Tell me, though, Mr. Nathan, you are the president of the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors and Education. Well, I wonder if you could just tell us a bit about that organization, the association. That's JAGCE.
Okay, Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education. It's an organization that we try to have all guidance counselors on board in a unified, dignified, professional manner so that we can have one voice, one say in terms of the what relates to the guidance counselor. Not only that, but as a support mechanism for each other. It is said, who counsel the counselors? So what happens is that we need an organization to be there for each other. So we aspire not only to reach our nation's children, but also we endeavor to be a support mechanism to each other.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I definitely like that, the fact that, an organization like this exists that is, helping to maintain the standards and is also there to kind of support the guidance counselors, right across the island. Tell us though, Mr. Nathan, from where you sit, what are some of the issues that our guidance counselors have been, faced with, seen from our students? Can you just give us an overview of the mental health from this perspective of the guidance counselors?
Okay. To answer you, I would like to use analogy. I would like to use a prop, right? As I speak to my guidance counselors, I realize that a lot of them presently are tired, drained, mentally stressed, just like what would face the others. It's facing the guidance counselors too. And I think one of the challenges is that I think of an elastic band. Picture an elastic band. It can hold so much, but the guidance counselors now are being stretched in greater dimensions, in greater areas. And as a result of that, I will be honest with you that I do believe that many of them, it's getting thin. It's getting to that point, like everyone else, where we too feel a sense of, boy, I'm tired. Boy, I'm frustrated. Boy, because the thing about it is that we are on call.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, since the onset of COVID, I go out physically every single day, because what, there's a group of people, there's a group of students that still needs to be reached. But then what? After a while, it takes a toll.
Yes,
After a while, it has an impact, right?
absolutely.
And sometimes when I reach home, and I want to be frank with you all, because see, sometimes we pretty things up, but we need to be realistic about what is before us. Sometimes when I reach home, I am so drained mentally, physically, emotionally, and sometimes even spiritually, that you
Yes.
need that avenue to be recharged, refreshed. And I believe a lot of the counselors are at that point, because the virtual world has taken a toll on us holistically.
Absolutely. I have no doubt that that is so. And I'm sure that one of the persons that is feeling the pressure also, along with our president, President Nathan, is Mrs. Carnelia Bennett. Hi, Mrs. Bennett. How are you doing? Mrs. Bennett, you may need to unmute.
I think she's with us. I'm seeing her, but not hearing
Yes.
her.
Well, she's muted actually. So I wanted her to unmute. Well, I'm sure that she is going to be joining us very, very shortly. But also with us is Mr. Budhan. And we are very pleased to have Mr. Budhan with us. Hi, Mr. Budhan. I wonder if you could tell me what is your perspective on the healthiness mentally of our students at this time. Sir Budhan? Still, all right. So Mr. Budan, he will be coming on, I'm sure, at some point throughout the program. So we are back to Mr. Nathan. Mr. Nathan, we're back to you, sir. And
yes, sir.
I'd like to find out from you if the impact that students are facing negative because of the virtual space, because of the screen stress. I'm just wondering if this is really having a negative impact on their academic performance, or if a student really stays with it, it will not affect them.
Okay, that can be looked at from two angles. It depends a lot on the home environment. It depends a lot on the parental impact upon the child. Because you see, we have to keep in mind that it's not just about the student or students. It's about the environment, which involves the family surrounding that child. So for example, you may have a student who have better family support in every dimension. So you would find better performance. But then you may have those parents that are, for example, the single parent, and those parents that maybe have to go there to make ends meet. So the child sometimes is left on the child or children are left on their own sometimes to man their own virtual space without the supervision that they require. That has an impact on the grades and the input. Not only that, but there's still a great majority of students who still missing instruments, who still lack data, who still don't have internet in their area. I personally have encountered where students have called me and said, sir, I'm frustrated. Sir, I don't know what next. There's still that cry. And because of that, it does impact their academic output. Not that they don't have the potential, but they need further guidance. And I want to say this, it has to be a holistic approach. It cannot be just, now follow what I'm going to say. It can't be just the Ministry of Education. It can't be just the guidance counselor. It can't be just the church. It must be a holistic approach, because what we have before us is variety and variation of problems and challenges. And as a result, we need a network of solutions to combat what is before us.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. President. President, that
Yeah.
was President Nathan
Yes.
right there speaking to us about the impact that this is having on the child's academic performance. I see that Mr. Budhan is here. Hey, Mr. Budhan, how are you doing?
What's up, Dr. Samuels and Floyd?
Greetings, greetings, Geraldo. Good to see
Sir
you.
Eraldo, you know, when Floyd has, you know, significant personalities on, he always wants to interview them. So I am giving him the preference because have you given him have you given him your autograph as yet, Eraldo?
I have not. I've not done such a thing as yet.
He has a question for you. He has a question. This is a different purpose you're here for. So over to you, Floyd.
Geraldo, a man of many hats, man. So, you are a trained guidance counselor, have experience in the secondary and primary level. So you see what's happening with our students, from your perspective, interacting with students on a day-to-day, basis, what are some of the issues that you are hearing that is coming out of the homes and coming out, from these children?
There are many issues because of the pandemic, but one of the most is that there's no stability in focusing when it comes down to learning. The homes, you realize that because students are now home, you're you're experiencing or you're getting from the students that there is no one there. In most homes, I work mostly in inner city communities, and the lack of internet connectivity. So we have students not learning, and that's a big issue. And then there is no parental supervision for most students, and so some students can't gain access. Um last term, out of 300 and odd students at the institution I worked at, only roughly about 40% gain access to online learning, because we find out that depending on the different communities that students are in, parents don't have the necessary resources. Parents are not very knowledgeable of technology, and students have this free for all to not gain the access they need to get the education. And then there is, because of the lack of income, there is, for me, and I don't know if Mr. Nathan sees it, but there is an increase in I don't want to say parental discipline, but there's an increase in children not wanting to be in their home, but wanting to leave their home, because we have to be real that even in this time, especially in primary education, the students not getting that access to online learning and seeing their peers going through a lot put a lot of pressure on them. And so we find that most students now, and people will say that children don't suffer from stress and depression. Well, most of the time in my counseling session, I'm seeing students who are struggling from stress and depression because they can't focus on school, because they're thinking like an adult. They're thinking that my mom can't afford the internet. They're thinking that my mom can't afford this and my parents can't afford that. And that has affected them mentally. So psychologically, we find out that we have to treat a lot of children for depression and stress. And the reason is parents don't have a financial income, and there is no other way of getting help for them. I hope I'm clear. I hope I made
Yeah,
sense.
you're
Yeah,
extremely
yeah.
clear, Sir Budan. You have the art of being clear, so you don't even have to worry about that. What I'm worried about is not your clarity. I'm worried about the 210 students
Yes.
that was in your space last year. 40% of them, 40% of approximately 100, 350 approximately, would turn out to be 140 students. Sir Budan, what has happened to the 210 that did they weren't on? They weren't on. I know that Mrs. Bennett is on, and we're going to ask you a question just now, Mrs. Bennett. But tell us, Mr. Budan, what about the 210?
We tried. I remember last term we tried a lot of different means of getting those 210, and I won't say it's 40% consistently. We may
Yeah.
have like an increase there sometimes when, but we'll never have 100% of attendance. Never.
Yes.
And I can't even, and that's because really and truly, the Ministry of Education did a good job by issuing out tablets. I remember when I was there issuing out tablets, I had to go to parents' home to have set up internet and Wi-Fi, and I don't work in that area.
Are you serious?
But parents call the school and say, "Sir, me don't know all this do," and I'm
Oh my
driving
God.
around Kingston, Guts, you know, I think I should be employed to work with one of these telecommunication companies, setting up Wi-Fi for parents. But the thing is that, really and truly, Dr. Stevenson Floyd,
Yes.
for the most part, I believe parents, they put so much on teachers, and now when the responsibility is on them, they do not know what to do. And there are parents out there, I'm not going to be biased, there are parents out there that are neglectful, that would have given them the tablet. Look here, let me, I'm trying to be very cautious. There are many parents I've called and said, "Me, I come back for the Ministry of Education tablet. Coming up to the picnic pan school, me, I come back for the tablet." Because their parents, they collect these devices that you're expecting them to send the child on school, and then two a year, they can't afford Wi-Fi, which I understand. I understand that there are some difficulties, but for the most part, when we miss 200 and odd students, we'd sit down and try to brainstorm how we're going to get to these children. When we do find the parents, somebody die in the family, shootout happen, the tablet mash up, the internet gone, and there's so many variables that play that we can't have 100% attendance. My thing when and I'm gonna shut up soon, but when we were coming into this term, the idea of having a blended approach was the best thing for me, and then the other parts of COVID started to work out, because some students really and truly cannot learn online. Not going to lie, it is not the best teaching platform, especially for primary school students.
That's right. That's right.
At that age, is so difficult.
It is.
That's right. Hey, Floyd, I see Mrs. Bennett on the line. We're coming to a close. We're bringing this segment to a close. There are some other things that the station needs to do.
Yeah.
And we have to, Mr. Budan, he knows about these things quite well. But Mrs. Bennett is here. Floyd, would you care?
To ask, Miss Bennett, are you with us?
I am here. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Excellent. Excellent. So we heard from these, astute, gentlemen a while ago.
They are not facile. They are not facile.
we want to hear from the lady in the mix. So you are interacting with our students also. You are at Eltham High. They're at the secondary level. Tell us, how do you, as a guidance counselor, tell us some of the practical ways you go about, administering, going about doing your guidance counsel, and tell us, some of the stories or ways that you go about doing that to help the students. Hello, Miss Bennett? I think we lost her again.
Yeah, it seems so.
But I turn it over to Mr. Nathan.
Right.
In terms of just the way the guidance counselors go about now, you hear these stories, you hear about the students having the anxiety, you hear about the students having the issue with the parents, you hear about the issues of students.
All right.
All right.
Not sure what
She's back with us. That's fine.
That's fine. You want to take the question? How do you go about administering guidance as a guidance counselor?
And she's out again.
Yes,
she's out again. Well, I guess Mr. Nathan, President Nathan, if you take 30 seconds and respond, and then we give Mr. Budan a final word for his 30 seconds, then I think this would be a wonderful way to close out this conversation. Over to you for your 30 seconds, President.
Okay, before I respond to the question, there's something I would like to also make quite clear on the platform that we cannot overlook. And that is the impact on the gender. The males will react differently to the females, and the females differently to the males. And we cannot bypass that. I have a son, and he would say to me, "Daddy, could I go sport?" And just for his mental stability, I would give him that room because I know what he might be going through mentally. To answer your question now, there is a diversity approach by the different counselors to reach the students in this manner. It depends on the availability of resources. And that is one of the critical areas that the guidance counselors, in fact, everyone is facing because of inflation by many of the private sector and even the government sector to some extent to be able to have the resources to be able to reach these students in a practical manner. For the institution that I am at, we were able to acquire some tablets and some laptops. And you don't want to see the joy on the students' faces when they receive this instrument. But then there are those that still haven't been reached as yet, and there's a dire need. So the counselor now, there will be an intervention, and that can be via a telephone call, that can be via a home visit, that can be via WhatsApp, that can be via a tangible means. For example, at my school, there are times when we reach out with food baskets. So it's not just about reaching with an instrument, but meeting the need of hunger, sometimes with the homes and these students. So there's a diversity approach in reaching them. Sometimes too, the
Thanks.
counseling cannot be online. It has to be face to face.
Yes. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for that, Mr. Nathan.
Very good.
All right,
Very
so
good.
I know that we are rushing, so I'll just do this quickly in my 30 seconds. Um, as Mr. Nathan touched on certain things, the psychosocial aspect, counselors, it might not be easy, but we have to ensure that we are reaching out to each individual, each student. We're doing behavioral observation of them online. And as Mr. Nathan said, you can't just always conduct an online counseling session. There are times when you have to have an office time and get that student in. I think this is the time where we need to know, observe. I do behavioral observation almost every time in almost every single class to see which child has their camera on, their camera off, which child is doing X, Y, and Z, because you know, see the behavior change in their pattern. How do you approach that? We have to implement more strategic way of individual counseling, and then you have to also look at the fact that many children are grieving from the death of persons in their family due to COVID. So you have to implement more grief counseling practices to reach these children, and more so you have to reach the parents and try to counsel the parents as well, because they too are struggling and their stress is then pulled out or poured out on the child, and the child
Yes.
can't focus straight in class.
Yes.
That's it for me.
Yes, thank
Boy,
you very much. Wow. Well said,
amazing.
Sir Eraldo, Budan, and Mr. Winston Nathan, President of Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors Education. So very, very good to have you both on the program this afternoon.
Pleasure.
Yes, it has
Boy.
been very helpful. Yes, Rev.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling that Mrs. Bennett is on, and we are about to close. But she has been on from the start,
Yes.
having technical issues. I think she's able to speak now, and I would like to ask her if she has a statement to say to parents as they try to help and facilitate their children online. What would that be, Mrs. Bennett? Share with the parents of Jamaica. Most of them, chances are, who are on radio are listening to Love FM right now. Talk to us. Say something to those parents.
Uh,
Wow,
Pay
having some
attention to your
challenges.
children.
Here and now. Go ahead, Mrs. Bennett.
Pay attention to your children. That's
Yeah.
one major thing.
Mhm.
Giving them the attention they need, giving them the support they need. I'm not talking about the parents who ever so often stop the classes. Sorry, this boy not listening or this girl not listening. Get up off of the bed and, we hear the feedback. We get all of those things. But I want parents to really pay attention to them. Look at the things, look at the topics that the teachers are touching, that the students are unable to grasp the way that they should be grasping. See how best you can help. Find support, whether it be at school, in the community, wherever you can get that support. Try to get that support for them. Because at this time, as Sir Nathan rightly said, the children really are paying attention to everything that's happening around them. And when parents are probably looking at the bills that they can't pay, the children are looking at the parents not having the bills paid, and the children are looking at the parents under stress. The children are looking at their own stressors. Just pay attention to your children and work with them in the best possible way you can.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wow. Couldn't get it better than that, Floyd.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think, yeah. I think that was just such good advice to parents. A very, very good way to close out our conversations with our special guests. And we want them to know that we so appreciate them coming on, taking the time out. President Nathan, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Budan, we know that you're familiar with the station, but this is not your hour. So we really would like to say thanks for coming on and making the sacrifice at this time. And Mrs. Bennett, so many challenges you are having, but we are really appreciative of you coming on. Floyd?
Yes. We really want to thank you all for being with us in our Let's Talk About It segment. We're just going to wrap this segment right now. And if we have time, we're going to be, after this segment, we're going to be going into a feature, I Chose Christ, You Should Too.
Campus connection, that's a go on bank campus. Young people are go hard bank campus. Come on, tell me what go on. Campus connection, tell me what I want. Hey, but want to know everything, got to get your interviews. Yeah, where them a tell you education news. Sit down and listen, have nothing to lose. Plus, you know them must bring something for you. Word of the day, that is something for your use. Bread of life, that I know my food. Plus, man, I bust a campus tune. Now make it go and bounce in my room. Cause of that, I want.
New admissions to the infirmaries has not eased the demand for their services. There is now a waiting list comprising over 200 potential residents who are seeking admission to the infirmary. So, something has to be done. And this is part, Madam Speaker, of when we say we're moving into the endemic phase and we have to stop treating COVID as a project, and we will now have to mainstream it. We will have to live with it. So, Madam Speaker, consideration is being given to replacing the absolute ban on new admissions to the infirmaries with a structure of protocols that will be announced after consultations between the Ministry of Health and Wellness and local government and rural development. Madam Speaker, barring any significant changes in our numbers, these new measures will generally remain in place until December 9th, 2021. Madam Speaker, as we did for the last set of measures, we are leaving the measures in place for longer periods and moving towards a more stable, predictable set of measures. Barring any significant changes in circumstances, the measures will change gradually, only in response to an improvement in our numbers that is sustainable as a result of an improvement in our vaccination rates. Madam Speaker, the touchy subject now, reopening school. Well, not touchy, important subject of reopening school. I now turn to the subject, Madam Speaker. The learning loss that our children have suffered as a result of the pandemic is incalculable. Despite our best efforts to provide computers and tablets and to increase internet access, thousands of students have minimal or no access to remote learning. Madam Speaker, of all the adverse side effects of the pandemic, this is the one I worry about the most. Madam Speaker, I may make it a personal mission to provide students with tablets. I have gone close to about 3,000 tablets that I've done through my foundations personally. Members inside here can attest to that. In addition to working with members in our diaspora, and indeed the great work done by our Consul General in New York through the one device per child program, which she has done. She's probably gone over 5,000 devices or more. And so, Madam Speaker, we have been giving out those to MPs and just generally to distribute to students, because it is very worrying to me when I go into my own constituency and see the children unsupervised, running up and down. You know, Madam Speaker, in the pandemic, we took the view that the safest place for the children to be in the pandemic is at home. It may be the case, but Madam Speaker, not all homes are safe. Not all homes nurture their children. Not all homes have parents who can read and write. That's the reality. And you know, Madam Speaker, I talk it plain, people are going to feel that, you know, I am indelicate with these matters, but so that, you know, nuance is not well understood. So I have to just be real and practical. Madam Speaker, I have gotten calls about young girls getting pregnant. So I've asked for some data as to whether or not we are seeing any rise in teenage pregnancy as a result of the children being home, many of them unsupervised. These are real issues.